Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Meteorologist Johnny Lively for our Wednesday morning update sponsored by HB Neal Construction. Another wet morning, very active, especially across our general region here in southeast Texas. Not too much over there in southwest Louisiana. We've got some heavy downpours from Lake Jackson, Alvin, Galveston, mainly now pushing into the Houston Metroplex area. We've had some areas near Lake Jackson and Angleton up to 4 to 5 inches of rain just in the last 6 hours this morning, and some of the heaviest now really pushing into the Houston Metroplex area and in parts of the Baytown region. You can see 1 to 3 inches of rain for parts of southeast Texas with some isolated areas like we've seen towards Lake Jackson and Freeport. We can see some isolated areas get up to 4 to 6 inches. A lot of that will probably be more confined towards the coast. Further to the north, maybe towards the I-10 and Highway 90, but a lot of this, the heavier totals will be near the coast and mainly offshore. But again, you see the heaviest right now is going on in the interior southeast Texas for portions of Houston. There's that broad area of low pressure. The National Hurricane Center is doing their best to try to name this Arthur, but it continues to ride the coastline. If it does not get in the Gulf, it's going to have a hard time getting the name. We're not concerned about the name. We just want to concern ourselves on the forecast. This continues to bring these downpours along the Texas coastline, and then by later this afternoon, especially tonight, this shifts more so into central and eastern Louisiana, these heavy downpours, and then we'll get into portions of the deep south. You can see that broad area of low pressure just off the coast or maybe riding the coast near Corpus Christi, but that continues to sling that high levels of moisture content into our region, so another 1 to 3 inches of rain is likely for parts of our region, with some of those areas getting up to 4 to 6 inches. And then kind of to help out, this is the outlook that we're expecting today. There's that area of low pressure riding the Texas coastline. Very lopsided, so the heaviest will be offshore and further to the east. But areas like Galveston, High Island, Bolivar Peninsula, Sabine Pass, and we'll still keep watching Houston, Beaumont, and Orange, but our flood threat will mainly be confined towards the coast and then really into portions of Louisiana and the deep south. But we will continue to keep watching this and monitoring for areas like Houston, Beaumont, and Orange. Again, a lot of this will be confined towards the coast, some of the heavier totals. We're going with 1 to 3 inches of rain for a good portion of the region. Some isolated areas can get slightly higher, up to 4 to 6. You can see just in the last 24 hours, several areas a half an inch to an inch, inch and a half. Those red to purple pockets, that's up to 6 inches. In fact, Wildwood got up to 10 and a half yesterday. So we've had some pretty hefty totals just in the last 24 hours. Again, 1 to 3 inches of rain is expected for a good portion of southeast Texas and southwest Louisiana, with some isolated areas possibly getting a little bit higher amounts. Current temperatures, it's warm and muggy with all that deep tropical moisture here. Middle to upper 70s is pretty common. The I-10 down towards the coast, you start seeing some low 80s across the region, thanks to our sponsor of Neutron Electrical Services. Our outdoor and construction forecast for today, very similar the last 2 to 3 days. It's somewhat kind of a complete washout, but once we get over with today, we start getting back into our normal schedule of a summer-like pattern, mostly dry conditions, rain chances are on the lower side, and then we get back into the low 90s and maybe some areas into the mid 90s. We just got to get through today. Today is pretty widespread showers and thunderstorms, mainly this morning into the afternoon, and then we start clearing out by late this afternoon, mainly this evening. And again, that drier weather pattern is upon us. You can see that as that area of low pressure continues to push all of that deep tropical moisture not only into the Texas coastline, but mostly into Louisiana and parts of the deep south. That keeps us here in southeast Texas and southwest Louisiana pretty wet today, especially this morning into the afternoon. And then notice by the time we get into Thursday, it's pretty much drying out fairly quickly. We actually have some dry air that starts coming into our region by Thursday. Just a 5 to 10% coverage for some showers is possible on Thursday, mostly dry conditions. And then as well as we get into Friday. Now, Saturday, we do have a possible disturbance that tries to come through here. A little bit of a moisture. We could see at least 30, maybe 40% coverage on Saturday, but still we are transitioning into our normal summer-like pattern by the time we get into Thursday. So here's our futurecast for today. A lot of the rain will be kind of from the I-10 corridor, mostly down towards the coast. Lakes region, about 40 to 50% coverage, but all this 70 to 80% coverage. This is mainly Houston, Beaumont, Port Arthur to Lake Charles. You can see that the majority of this is this morning into the early afternoon. Some locally heavy downpours still possible possible 1 to 3 inches of rain, some isolated, possibly up to 4 to 6 inches. We're going to be dealing with this off and on this morning and into the afternoon. And then by later in the afternoon, this shifts more into southwest Louisiana. And then by the time we get into this evening and into night, this really starts focusing more into Lafayette, New Iberia, those areas further into central and eastern Louisiana. Could see some tornado warnings for central and mainly eastern Louisiana and portions of the deep south. But the main thing that you'll see is really kind of the setup for some heavy rainfall and the potential for some flooding from areas like Lafayette, New Iberia, all the way into New Orleans. And you can see they're getting into portions of the deep south like Jackson and Meridian could get pretty hefty on Wednesday night into Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon. So all of that starts pushing well off towards the east here in southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana. It is today. This is our last day of pretty active weather because drier air pushes in by the time we get into tomorrow. And again, some of the heftiest totals will really be offshore, mostly into central and eastern Louisiana. But areas along the coast here in southeast Texas, southwest Louisiana, we're still expecting another 1 to 3 inches with some pockets of 4 to 6 inches still on the table. But you definitely start seeing that by really later tonight, mostly into Thursday, it shifts well further to the east, especially into parts of the deep south. Rainfall outlook for today, this is our best chance for rain, 70 to 80% coverage. Then we resume back to our summer-like pattern, 10 to really getting up to 30% coverage, really just the low odds for rain. We start seeing more of the less clouds, warmer and hotter temperatures back onto the summer schedule, low rain chances thanks to a sponsor of Do Good. Thanks to Silsby Ford, we can see what to expect today. We've got 70 to 80% coverage pretty much right across the board. Chance for some locally heavy downpours, 1 to 3 inches of rain, isolated pockets getting a little bit heftier, but thanks to the rain and the clouds, no 90s. We're pretty much staying into the middle to upper 80s. And then overnight tonight, we could have some stragglers of some rain kind of hanging out, more so towards Louisiana. We start drying out more so here in southeast Texas. And then we see those temperatures hanging out pretty much into the middle to upper 70s, down towards the coast into the low 80s. And thanks again to Silsby Ford. Get you one. Here we are for southeast Texas. The light is definitely here at the end of the tunnel. This is the last day for widespread showers and thunderstorms, mostly those heavy downpours. And then we resume back to our summer pattern. Temperatures getting back into the low 90s. Some areas could get close to the mid 90s. And again, coverage of rain is on the lower side, 10 to 30%. Same thing for southwest Louisiana. Today is our last round of widespread heavy downpours. And then we resume back to our summer pattern. We could see a potential for some rain moving in late Friday afternoon into Saturday morning to early Saturday afternoon. But other than that, we are just getting back to our normal routine. After today, we get back into the upper 80s to low 90s by this Thursday, getting into the weekend. Wonderful time to go download the free Gulf Coast Weather Solutions app. It will keep you updated and let you know what's going on. We're going to switch back to the radar just one more time as we close out this show. Let me pause it once we get to the end. This is at 6:50. Again, the heaviest is mainly from Houston into the Baytown area. This will continue kind of going a little bit further north of the I-10 corridor, getting closer to Highway 90 from Atascocita to Crosby into Liberty. But we'll continue seeing this riding the coast. So areas like High Island, Winnie, Beaumont, this will get a little bit more active later this morning into the afternoon. This has all got to continue to ride the coast. Areas for, I would say, north from Conroe, Woodlands, and Jasper. You're watching to see how further north this gets. Your coverage is a little bit Leslie, goodness gracious, can we talk this morning? Coverage is around 80% for Houston and Beaumont. Areas like Conroe to Jasper, you're more so, I would say, around 50 to 60% coverage. So you can see that this is more confined towards the coast. That's our Wednesday morning update. We'll continue to provide updates throughout the day today, but if you haven't, please go download our app. Have a wonderful Wednesday and good seeing y'all again. Stay dry. One more day of widespread rain.
Gulf Coast Weather Solutions is sponsored by
At Gulf Coast Weather Solutions, we focus on delivering reliable weather forecasts. Our new app provides reliable weather updates and alerts no matter where you are. With real-time weather alerts and warnings, you can stay informed and prepared wherever you go. Download the Gulf Coast Weather Solutions app today on the App Store and Google Play and stay connected no matter where you are.